today we're going to be looking at the globe theory and if it's biblical or not, okay? So first we're going to look at 1 Samuel 2 verse 8, and it says, "He raiseth up the poor out of the dust, and lifteth up the beggar from the dunghill, to set them among princes, and to make them inherit the seat of glory. For the pillars of the earth are the Lord's, and he hath set the world upon them." Okay? And if you know anything about buildings, which I'll have a picture up right now, then half of them, like the skyscrapers and stuff, are built off of pillars. That is their foundation, okay? And we're going to get into a couple more verses about foundations in a second. But keep in mind that the world is set upon pillars, okay? Now, next we are going to be looking at Isaiah 40, verse 21 and 22. And it says, "Know ye nothing? Have ye not heard it? Hath it not been told you from the beginning? Have ye not understood it by the foundation of the earth? He sitteth..." Oh, see right there, it says foundation, by the way. So, keep in mind, it's foundations, it's pillars. Now, it says, "He sitteth upon the circle of the earth." Not the sphere of the earth, the circle of the earth, okay? And there's a very big difference between that, because one's two-dimensional and one is three-dimensional. And it says, "And the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers. He stretcheth out ye heavens as a curtain, and spreadeth them out as a tent to dwell in." See a picture of the tent? See the picture of the dome right there? It's plain and simple, man. Looks exactly the same. And it does not say, "And he spreadeth it out, not as a tent, as a globe." Okay? It says as a tent, and a tent looks a whole lot like a dome to me. Okay? Now, next we're going to be looking at Isaiah 42, verse 10. And it says, "Sing unto the Lord a new song, and his praise from the end of the earth. Ye that go down to the sea and all that is therein, the isles and the inhabitants thereof." And look, there's the end of the earth right there, okay? I will put links to some videos down below. I don't agree with everything that these people say, but there's some very good information in there, so check that out if you like this video. Now, so that's plain and simple. There's an end of the earth. There is no end to sphere. Okay? Now we're going to look at Matthew 4, verse 8. And I saw on a couple Christian channels, websites. I saw on a couple of Christian websites that people always bash this, and they're like, well, obviously it wasn't actually a high mountain. But it says that the devil took Jesus up to a high mountain, okay? So let's read it. It says, "Again, the devil took him up into an exceeding high mountain, and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and the glory of them." Now look at this picture of Mount Everest. That's pretty dang high. It's past the clouds. So, I mean, it's pretty conclusive that they actually did go up onto an exceeding high mountain to see all the kingdoms of the earth. Otherwise, you'd have to have like these weird mirrors and stuff in front of you, and that's just not very biblical. It's actually pagan and satanic, okay? So, now we're going to be looking at Psalm 104, verse 5, okay? And Psalm 104, verse 5 says, "He set the whole earth upon her foundations, so that it shall never move." Alright? So, if you set it on a foundation, like for instance, when you're building a building, you've got your foundation, and then you zip all your walls in, or you build your walls up from it, depending on if it's wood or if it's cement. Now, either way, it's completely firm on that foundation. Correct? Correct. Okay. So, if it's correct, then the earth is never going to move. And that is also now going to have to disprove the whole thing about the globe spinning, because that's constantly moving. And this Bible verse here says that it shall never, never move. Okay? And otherwise, that doesn't really make sense, right? Like, why would you have this spinning globe? And even if somebody was like, well, okay, you can have pillars and it shall never move, but it's not going to be spinning then. And if you set something... Okay, think of it this way. If you've got a sphere, and that is your building, and you're putting that on your foundation, that thing's going to be rolling like crazy. But then some people might say, well, maybe since there's, people always talk about the hole in the center of the earth, then, like, God obviously has this giant hole there, and maybe there's, like, this huge carriage bolt going through it, right? So that it will never move. But that still doesn't make sense, because that's not a foundation then. Okay? It doesn't make sense. So now we're going to look at Isaiah 51, verse 13. And it says, "And forgettest the Lord thy Maker, that hath spread out the heavens, and laid the foundations of the earth, and hast feared continually all the day, because of the rage of the oppressor, which is ready to destroy? Where is now the rage of the oppressor?" So right there, he's talking about how great God is again, okay? And how God spread out the heavens. And in, I can't remember which one it was, Isaiah 40, verse 22, it says that he spread it out as a tent. So both times he spread it out. A tent does not look anything like a sphere. It looks more like a half sphere or a dome. Okay? And we already found out in Isaiah 42 verse 10 that there are ends to the earth. No sphere has an end. Okay? And right here it says that he spread out the heavens and laid the foundations. So if he makes both of those points, he laid foundations and he spread out the heavens, well, together, the heavens and the foundations, that's basically what you see for a dome. When people have their little pictures, like this one, of a dome, then it's touching the foundation, okay? And also, one more thing about pillars, which I forgot to mention as being a foundation, is that if you look up piles, which is a pillar for, like people use them on highways and stuff, and skyscrapers, the piles are used for very heavy traffic. Guess what? The world has very heavy traffic all throughout. So, of course, it's on pillars, okay? So, now, last we are going to be looking at Ezekiel 1 verse 26 and Ezekiel 1 verse 22. I said that backwards, but we're going to be looking at both of those. 1 verse 22 says, "And the similitude of the firmament upon the heads of the beasts was wonderful, like unto crystal, spread over their heads above." That sounds pretty conclusive. It was spread over their heads above. And, I mean, just saying, water always finds flat, okay? So, if there's a firmament above their heads, and it looks like a crystal, well, guess what? You can see right through the dome, or into the firmament, if you want to say, which is got all the stars in it and stuff like that, okay? So, it's like unto a crystal. You can see through it into the firmament and all that, okay? And it's spread over their heads above. And if you got all these people on a globe, their above is going to be totally different every single way, okay? And basically, it's restated again in verse 26, and it says, "And above the firmament that was over their heads was the fashion of a throne like unto a sapphire stone, and upon the similitude of the throne was by appearance as the similitude of a man above upon it." So, the man is above, that's God, of course, and like this picture, which is a pretty good drawing, it's not perfect, but it's pretty good, and it gets the point across, there is a dome, and there's heaven around it, and it's right at God's feet, which is, I mean, it's already said, I don't know the verse right now, but it's God's footstool, okay? So, it's plain and simple, okay? 1 Samuel 12 verse 8 says pillars, which is a type of foundation, which is for very heavy traffic, if you look that up. And then Isaiah 40 verse 21 and 22 refers to the earth as having a tent over it, okay? That's what the sky is like. It's like a tent. Isaiah 42 verse 10, that's where it talks about the ends of the earth. Like I said, no sphere has end, okay? It just constantly twirls and twirls. Matthew 4 verse 8, you can see the whole world. You can't see that on a dome. Sphere, I'm sorry. Psalm 104 verse 5 and Isaiah 51 verse 13, they both talk about foundations. Again, just like the pillars in 1 Samuel 2 verse 8. And the two verses in Ezekiel that we are looking at right now on the screen. So, basically, there's overwhelming biblical evidence against this globe theory, and there is a lot more evidence leaning to the other side of this theory, okay? Which, I'm just saying, I didn't like the idea of a flat earth or something like that, but when you look at it, it's pretty conclusive that the earth is FLAT, and it's not a GLOBE, okay? So, I'm going to leave you, keep in mind all the things that we said, okay? And now I'm going to play this recording from this guy, and he's reading Job 38, okay? Now, and just keep in mind all these things that we listened, that I read off, and just think about, because people are always going to be like, well, you know what? I need every single problem answered for me, because otherwise I won't believe, and I'll just stick with the globe theory. Well, if you go like that, then you ain't never going to actually know the truth, because of the fact that God is so much greater, okay? You're not God. You ain't going to know everything like God. So you might as well just have a little bit of faith and just believe in what the Bible says, okay? So have a good day, and I hope that this next recording will be a blessing to you.
Job, chapter 38. Then answered the Lord unto Job out of the whirlwind, and said, Who is this that darken the counsel by the words without knowledge? Gird up now thy loins like a man. I will demand of thee, and declare thou unto me. Where wast thou when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if thou hast understanding. Who hath laid the measures thereof, if thou knowest? Or who hath stretched the line over it? Whereupon are the foundations thereof set? Or who laid the cornerstone thereof, when the stars of the morning praised me together, and all the children of God rejoiced? Or who hath shut up the sea with doors, when it issued and came forth as out of the womb? When I made the clouds as a covering thereof, and darkness as the swaddling bands thereof? When I established my commandment upon it, and set bars and doors, and said, Hitherto shalt thou come, but no further, and here shall it stay, thy proud waves? Hast thou commanded the morning since thy days? Hast thou caused the morning to know his place, that it might take hold of the corners of the earth, and that the wicked might be shaken out of it? It is turned as clay to fashion, and all stand up as a garment. And from the wicked their light shall be taken away, and the high arm shall be broken. Hast thou entered into the bottoms of the sea? Or hast thou walked to seek out the depth? Have the gates of death been opened unto thee? Or hast thou seen the gates of the shadow of death? Hast thou perceived the breadth of the earth? Tell, if thou knowest all this. Where is the way where light dwelleth? And where is the place of darkness, that thou shouldest receive it in the bounds thereof, and that thou shouldest know the paths to the house thereof? Knewest thou it because thou wast then born, and because the number of thy days is great? Hast thou entered into the treasures of the snow, or hast thou seen the treasures of the hail, which I have hid against the time of trouble, against the day of war and battle? By what way is the light parted, which scattereth the east wind upon the earth? Who hath divided the spouts for the rain, or the way for the lightning of the thunders? To cause it to rain on the earth where no man is, and in the wilderness where there is no man. To fulfill the wild and waste place, and to cause the bud of the herb to spring forth. Who is the father of the rain? Or who hath begotten the drops of the dew? Out of whose womb came the ice? Who hath engendered the frost of the heaven? The waters are hid as with a stone, and the face of the depth is frozen. Canst thou restrain the sweet influences of the Pleiades, or loose the bands of Orion? Canst thou bring forth Mazzaroth in their time? Canst thou also guide Arcturus with his sons? Knowest thou the course of heaven? Or canst thou set the rule thereof in the earth? Canst thou lift up thy voice to the clouds, that the abundance of water may cover thee? Canst thou send the lightnings, that they may walk, and say unto thee, Lo, here we are? Who hath put wisdom in the reins? Or who hath given the heart understanding? Who can number clouds by wisdom? Or who can cause to cease the bottles of heaven, when the earth groweth into hardness, and the clots are fast together?